And welcome to the Truth Radio Show's headline news of the week of February 22nd of 2015. And I am your host, Dan Bidondi, on this worldwide transmission on shakeandwakeradio.com and alternatecurrentradio.com. And we got a lot of news to cover, so without further ado, we're going to dive right into the news. We're going to get into the news about ISIS. We're also going to cover DARPA's new brain matrix-like chip being implanted to control the spine. It's for paralyzed people and such, but this is out of control. And speaking out of control, the police state. I mean, we're going to get to the police state in our last segment. I mean, again, I say this all the time. You would think the police state would calm down, you know, from the recent scandals, from the recent shootings, the Michael Brown situation and all that. But you know what? It's just gotten a million times worse. And we're going to get into that. And also, after this news portion of the show, we got an exclusive interview with a journalist from Two Real News. His name is Seth Davis from Tuskegee Nation, The Truth About Vaccination. We got a whole hour interview. I mean, he breaks it down. I mean, like, one of the best interviews I had yet, him and Rob Do, last week about vaccination. So we're going to try to air this on this network, a 2-hour show here. And again, this first hour is going to be devoted to news. Second hour, we're going to have that full interview with Seth Davis. And if not, you know, either way, anybody who watches our video edition, our televised edition is available Sunday nights on YouTube, our channel, Truth Radio Show. So watch it, because we put the articles up on the screen. We give you all the information right there. And you get to see the guest on our Skype channel and everything else. I mean, it's a good show. So again, Truth Radio Show, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We encourage you to do that, because it gets the news really in your face. I mean, you see the articles pop up in your face, especially those watching on this video edition. And, you know, so we're broadcasting right now on alternatecurrentradio.com and shakeandwakeradio.com on the radio. But again, our video edition of this portion will be on that, so you'll be able to watch this whole interview, hour-long interview. I mean, it's lengthy, yes, but tons of information, tons of it. Again, his name is Seth Davis, and he covers the truth about vaccinations. I mean, hard-hitting evidence that, you know, after, you know, regardless if you don't like vaccines or not, after you listen to this and see the evidence, I mean, it's staggering. It's going to blow you away, and it's definitely going to keep you away from those dangerous vaccinations. But we're not going to dig too deep on the vaccines today, because we've got a lot of news, and I want to dive right into this right now. End of the American Dream reports, ISIS is painting the Middle East red with the blood of Christians. He should have actually changed that title a little bit. How about the CIA is painting the Middle East with red with the blood of Christians? Because ISIS is exactly the CIA. They created ISIS, they funded ISIS, and they arm ISIS. So I'm, you know, getting right to the point. It's the CIA. People like John McCain himself. These guys should be in jail for treason, for murder, crimes against humanity. I just go on. A list of charges. I could go on and on and on. Him, Obama, Hillary Clinton. I mean, these people are tyrants. So people watching all over the world, you want to know who's behind ISIS. I'm telling you right now, it's the CIA from the United States here, which is the joint task force, so to speak. They're the ones who created the Interpol with the UK and Australia. So if you want to know who's behind ISIS, okay, you countries out there who are really fighting ISIS, who are really risking your own troops' lives, who are getting, you know, your own people getting killed by ISIS, you want to know who's to blame for this? You want to know who to go after? Okay, you want to go after the head of the snake? It's the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, and people like John McCain and Hillary Clinton. Those are the criminals who should be arrested and indicted, not just federal, but worldwide charges, crimes against humanity. But again, your ISIS, the CIA, painting the Middle East with red blood of the Christians. And, you know, why is the CIA doing this? Because Christians are the most hated people on the planet. Yeah, because God forbid you follow the Bible. We're not going to get into a debate about religions and whatnot, but that's what the whole thing's about. And it's not a coincidence it's called ISIS. I did a whole report on this. ISIS, the Untold Truth Exposed, is right on my YouTube channel. It's got over 300,000 hits. It's a huge report, and I'm getting attacked by all kinds of people in the Middle East. I mean, it's crazy, because we expose ISIS for what it really is, and the spiritual agenda behind it as well. But again, you want to know where these brand new Toyota trucks are coming from, Special Forces trucks, these arms and weapons ISIS is getting, it's from the CIA. So you countries out there like Jordan and all these other countries who are fighting ISIS, go after the CIA, because they're the ones who are funding your enemy. Plain and simple. And And on with the article, every day now, there are fresh new stories about Christians being slaughtered by ISIS in the Middle East. So where's the outrage from the White House? Well, I'm going to answer that question. I just answered that question. You're not going to get outrage from the White House because the White House is funding these criminals. They're funding these murderers. And where's the outrage from the Islamic world? If Islam truly was a religion of peace, prominent Islamic leaders all over the globe would be loudly condemning ISIS whenever another slaughter of Christians took place. In the White House statement about the beheading of 21 Egyptian Coptic Christians by ISIS, the other day that did not, the world didn't even report this. I mean, it's just sickening. And we do want to record that, some of these beheadings, the beheading of that journalist, it was all staged. But yes, they are beheading Christians, and it's a war it's a spiritual war. It really is. But again, you're not going to get no outrage from the White House because the White House is part of it. The White House is funding these criminals. And moving on with more news here, Oklahoma lawmaker wants guns in the Capitol. And this is a courthouse news report. Oklahoma with licenses will be able to carry handguns into the state capitol without going through security checkpoints if a proposal bill becomes law. And it's a people's house, so why shouldn't they be able to carry a weapon in it? And out of all the places in each state, the Capitol building, the State House, is the people's house. So you should be able to exercise the Second Amendment in there. But State Republican John Bennett, he's a Republican from Sallisaw, filed a bill called H.R. 1324 on January 27th. It would allow licensed handgun holders to bypass the MyRadar security checkpoints at the Capitol upon presentation of their valid handgun license. And speaking of guns, I mean, these people want to take your guns, but you got good people like that trying to bring back the Second Amendment. I mean, we got to take steps at a time. I would love to go say, hey, you know what? Let's just give everybody open carry. We should do that. It should be done. But you got these Mothers Demand Action, these Nazis. That's what they are, and they exploit the deaths of poor kids when guns would have saved every situation those kids died in. A gun would have saved those kids' lives. But we're not going to get into a rant about that because it's just sickening. These people are demented. But, they're trying to take away our Second Amendment, and they're even going far enough, these legislators, they want to ban body armor. And they're trying to push right here, this is from SHTFplan.com, a nationwide ban on personal body armor proposed in Congress, and 10 years for imprisonment for possession. That's right, body armor. Something that will protect you, but I guess is a high level grade. We're going to get into this here. In the wake of Sandy Hook shooting, which I don't know what the hell did Sandy Hook have to do with personal body armor. Anyway, in the wake of Sandy Hook school shooting, politicians from coast to coast attempt to push through legislation that would ban a host of guns, magazines, and accessories, though their efforts failed for the most part, and thankfully and rightfully so. Those who would take away the ability to defend ourselves always have another tyrannical card up their sleeve. Of course they do. And the latest efforts to attack personal defense as a natural birthright comes from distinguished congressional representatives Alice Hastings, Robin Kelly, and Danny Davis. And it takes aim not only at your ability to possess a firearm, but rather to protect yourself from criminals who own them. And H.R. 378, dubbed the Responsible Body Armor Possession Act, would make it illegal for civilians to own enhanced body armor such as helmets, shields, or armor plates that meet or exceed Type 3 protection. The bill would exempt law enforcement officers and other government officials, of course. It would exempt them too. And the co-sponsors of the bill believe body armor in the hands of private citizens is so dangerous that they intend to impose a 10-year federal prison sentence if those found to be in possession of the contraband. So, you citizens out there, you're nothing but a bunch of slaves. You can't have firearms, and no, you're not going to have body armor either. Because, it's Type 3 body armor, it's the high grade. Don't think they're going to go after your Type 2 next, then your Type 1, and before you know it, you're not going to be able to possess any body armor. That's how they go attack you, with the guns. We're not taking your guns, we're just trying to limit your rounds of ammunition. We're just trying to limit your calibers. See, they do it in increments. If they had their way, they'd just go after your guns, take them completely, and just rip your body armor off. You would never be able to own either of the such. But they attack you by incrementally. You give these people an inch, they'll take a mile. And there's no working things out with these people. You don't, what's the word I'm trying to dig up here? It's just been a long day. But you don't negotiate with these criminals at all. No negotiation. You just say, no, that's it. Screw. You're not taking our guns, and you certainly are not going to take away our ability to defend ourselves and protect ourselves with body armor. So I hope that bill gets shot down, because it's like a plague. It really is. These things are viruses. One city, one state gets one of these tyrannical laws, then you have all the rest of the sheeple across the country. Oh, we got to follow along. We got to follow along. And you have these demented whack jobs from Mothers Demand Action, Moms Demand Action, whatever they're called, and I just call them Nazis. And yes, I'm attacking Mothers Demand Action because you're a bunch of Nazis, okay? You don't know nothing about history. You don't know nothing about anything. Because if you knew anything, guns protect, guns would keep your kids alive, plain and simple. But I'm not going to get into that. I know I keep drifting off into that, but it's just disgusting. But, they think everybody's an extremist, these people. They think everybody is an extremist. And speaking of that, you got here, police label hippie group whose message is peace and love, domestic extremists. Not only patriots are labeled domestic extremists now, but now hippies, people who preach peace and love, which you're going to be labeled domestic extremists. Paul Joseph Watson reports, Infowars.com. Musella police are seeking a $250,000 Homeland Security grant to help them spy on extremist organization, the Rainbow Family, a loosely affiliated hippie group which stresses nonviolence, peace, and love. So nonviolence, peace, and love is labeled extremism by our federal government, by the scum and Homeland Security. And we just did a big piece on Homeland Security. It's on our YouTube channel, and we played it last week. I mean, it's horrible, it really is. And we got the mayor signed off this week on a proposal that, if approved, would meet the Musella Police Department's $254,000 grant here, which they're trying to get from Homeland Security, to purchase a mobile command unit that would be used to spy on the Rainbow Family, which is listed as an extremist organization in proposal. The unit will also be used by first responders during emergencies and natural disasters. So that's where they're going to cover it. Oh, we need this mobile response unit for emergencies and natural disasters, and that's what they're going to tell the public. But Paul Joseph Watson, he's like, man, we see through the line. So that's why he labeled this. And I'm sure the local news over there say, hey, in the newspaper, they're looking for a mobile command unit to help with natural disasters. Then very little fine print somewhere quick, oh, it's for going after extremist organizations. And they don't really list who. And right at the bottom somewhere, they'll probably put a family, Rainbow Family, but people get the headline, oh, it's to help with natural disasters. No, it's not. So Paul Joseph is taking the real article of what it really is and saying that police label hippie group whose message is peace and love a domestic extremist. So they want Homeland Security to give them this equipment. And you got a fourth grader says he has the one ring. School suspends him for terrorist threat, dad says, reported by Polygon. A fourth grader in West Texas has been suspended, his father says, because he pretended to have a ring like the one from the Lord of the Rings Canyon, and he said he could make a classmate disappear. So they just suspend this kid here. I can make you disappear. Oh, I got a ring on it, can make you disappear. Oh, you're suspended. I'm surprised they didn't call Homeland Security on this kid. You know, he's got to call the SWAT team in. Oh my God, this kid he's got a ring. He's got a ring. Quick, get the principal on the phone. Get him on the phone quick. Mr. Principal, call the SWAT team in the area. He's got a ring in my class. He's going to make people disappear. You got to get the SWAT team down here. Hell, call Homeland Security and military, because this kid is an extremist. He's very dangerous. This is an exaggeration, yes, but this is exactly what these people are. Just a bunch of demented idiots. So suspend a fourth grader because he said to a friend or whatever, I can make you disappear with the ring. We got to move on here. Canada's new anti-terrorism legislation echoes the Patriot Act. And this is Tech Dirt reporting this. Canada looks to be the next in line for a broadly written, government-expanded anti-terror legislation. This new legislation was prompted by a couple of recent attacks on government employees. The first attack involved a man said to be inspired by the Islamic State who ran over 2 soldiers in Quebec parking lot before killing them. And the second attack struck a bit closer to home when a gunman shot a soldier at the National War Memorial before making his way to Parliament. So basically they run around and say, oh, we're ISIS, we're ISIS, so they're trying to scare. And I guarantee these people were set up to do this. You're going to say you're ISIS, and federal agencies were involved because they want to, like we talked about, Homeland Security report, and the FBI is admitting that they need to keep the fear of terror alive to get their way and to get funding they need. And speaking of keeping fear and terror alive, which is fictitious climate change, Alan Schwarzenegger says he will be climate change terminator. He will be the climate change terminator. Financial Express reports action movie star Arnold Schwarzenegger said he would be a terminator for climate change and asked state governments to follow Modi's actions as chief ministers to achieve sustainable development goals. And the former California governor, who has earned a reputation as a climate change activist, thanked and lauded Prime Minister Modi for his work, including as Chief Minister Gujarat, to push a sustainable development and clean energy. So he said he's going to be the terminator for climate change. You know, and the sad part is they really do want to terminate people. I mean, that's right in the carbon emissions programs and everything else, Agenda 21. When you run out of your carbon credits, that's human beings, whatever, you'll be terminated. I mean, that's right in the legislation. I mean, it's that crazy. So he's not too far off when he says he wants to be a terminator for climate change, because they're using climate change to push this tyrannical control. And speaking of terminators and robots, when we get back from the break, we're going to talk about DARPA developing a matrix-like brain implant powered from the spine. I mean, that's insane. But we do got to go to break. We'll be right back on the Truth Radio Show on ShakeAwakeRadio.com and AlternateCurrentRadio.com. Stay tuned.
My friends, we have done it. With Dr. Group's help, we have developed the ultimate male vitality supplement with 8 concentrated super herbs. This is the answer to the globalist war on male vitality with the estrogen mimickers they've added to the food and the water supply. And now our test pilot, our Chuck Yeager, Dr. Edward Group, is here to test his greatest invention. Doctor?
Thank you, Alex. I will now take 2 droppers to test this ultimate male vitality formula.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a momentous moment. Thank you, Dr. Group.
I will activate my muscles by doing push-ups.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is it. This is the move. This is unprecedented. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to see what happens right now. Oh my God! What the hell? Wait. Get out of here. Shut this down. This is not safe. This is not. Hold on. Settle down. Get another doctor. Something's wrong. Something's wrong with him. Help him. Ladies and gentlemen, we did not intend for that to happen. I take it personally. Do not have those problems. Again, these are authorized herbs, well known to be safe. Please, doctor, wait a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, we're just going to cut to commercial for just a moment. Cut. Get everybody out of here.
Super male vitality. It's awesome. Just not this awesome.
Oh my God! What the hell? Ladies and gentlemen, the dramatization you've just seen is just that. It is satire to illustrate in a satirical way the incredible power of super male vitality. It will not turn you into Conan the Barbarian, but it will help block some of the estrogen mimickers and reportedly let your glands produce the natural hormones your body needs. It also does have some other side effects in the human testing that we discovered, ladies and gentlemen. I'm about to illustrate right now what that is. Let's see if I can do it again. It takes some focus. Up, and away!
Start your journey to super male vitality today at InfoWarsLife.com.
And welcome back to the Truth Radio Show. And before we get on with the news, I do want to promote one item, InfoWarsStore.com. Again, InfoWarsStore.com, Super Male Vitality. I mean, this stuff is great. I mean, it gives you energy, and I mean, I've been taking it for a while, and I'm like, beefed up. You know what I mean? I'm just like, I'm always charged up anyway, but this stuff really helps out a lot, and it's pretty good All you do is take 2 of these. Good stuff, and it's got a good flavor too, and it really helps you out with the energy and everything else you need if you need that lift through the day and all that. And again, InfoWarsStore.com, and also they got Oxy powder, which is a great weight loss item. I mean, it's incredible. It cleans out your intestines and everything in your body, literally. It cleans it out. And again, InfoWarsStore.com, and we'll play the commercials on the video broadcast of this. Those of you going to watch this over the weekend. Again, Truth Radio Show on our YouTube channel. But before we get into DARPA's new brain chip here, there's a couple articles I want to highlight here. This is crazy. I mean, every day I print this news up, I'm like, wow, when you think things can't go that much more insane. And yeah, I can't blame people when they call us conspiracy theorists sometimes, because this truth is definitely stranger than fiction, I tell you that. And this is whacked out. I mean, right here, Don Salazar, Infowars.com, says, school forces elementary students to pull pants down for a poop inspection. And I go to Infowars.com. I mean, this is back in January, but I wanted to bring this up because I never got to do that. There's a couple of these articles which is very relevant to everything that's going on today, so I had to bring these up. Administrators at a public school in Texas are investigating why more than 20 elementary school students were lined up and forced to drop their drawers in an unorthodox examination that many parents say went too far. Now, Monday, several school children reported being divided into male and female groups at a school in the North Texas town of Goshen, where they were ordered to enter separate rooms and expose their underwear for poop inspections. The school's justification: faculty members have been finding poop on the gym floor, according to the WFAA. I think that's the parents' facility, whatever they are. But anyway, quoted by an 11-year-old here, Eliza Medina. I said I didn't want to do it, but I was told I had to because all the kids had to. And I felt very uncomfortable, and I didn't want to do it, the young student claimed. I felt like they violated my privacy. Well, no kidding. And Medina's mother, Maria, says she was angered when she learned that teachers told kids to pull down your pants to check them for if they had could find anything. And the mother said she was furious, and I mean furious, and rightfully so. And the outraged mother said, if you can't do your job or you don't know what you're doing, you need to be fired. And she shouldn't be, you shouldn't be here. And again, school forces elementary students to pull pants down for a poop inspection. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, folks. And that right there, I mean, the parents should sue the pants off the schools. Sue them. That's why I suggest all the time that, homeschool your kids. Because these schools are going out of control. And speaking of going out of control, Kit Daniels reports from Infowars.com, school throws student into isolation because he shaved his head for a cancer charity. That's right, you heard that right. And again, this is whacked out stuff. This is something that you learn or watch in a parody movie or something. This is, but this is real life. School throws student into isolation because he shaved his head for a cancer charity. And a school forced a 14-year-old student into isolation booth after he shaved his head to raise money for a cancer charity. And right down the article, those are going to see right now on the video portion of this on the screen, which could be seen on Truth Radio Show on YouTube. A teenager was put in isolation after shaving his head for cancer charity, and you can see the tweet there of the before and after pictures. But the staff at Churchill Academy in North Somerset, United Kingdom, told the student, Stan Locke, his number 0 hairstyle was against school rules and placed him in an all-day isolation booth as punishment until his hair grows back, which could take several weeks. And yes, this happened in the UK, but this stuff happens all the time in the United States. The United States and the UK is nothing different about these countries. Both push tyrannical stuff. I mean, it's just out of control, folks. That's why we cover the news worldwide. I mean, we don't just stick with the United States or local news, whatever, because we cover the New World Order, because New World Order is everywhere. People say, well, we've got to move out of the country because the New World Order and all that. No, you don't move out of the country. The New World Order is everywhere. You're not going to run from it. It's either face the New World Order and defeat the son of a bitches, or run like a bunch of cowards, and in time, they're going to catch up to you. And they will. So one day or another, you're going to have to make that choice and say, there's no more room to run. I got to turn around and face these cockroaches. And I suggest people to do it now. Do it now and get it over with. Do it now while we still could defeat these scum. Because if they could become way too powerful, folks, it's all over. Humanity is over, but again, we got to circumvent that. Jesus Christ is going to put a stop to this completely. We know that's going to happen. So, anyway, we need to stand up against these eugenic scum. And speaking of eugenics, I mean, this is crazy. New congressional bill, which is, I love this. I mean, new congressional bill would defund Planned Parenthood abortion business. And I'm all for this. This is Life News reporting this. Just weeks after it announced that it killed another 327,000 unborn babies in abortions. That's right, 300,000 babies last year were aborted. That's 327,000. I have to repeat that. And that's just last year. In its most recent fiscal year, Planned Parenthood faces a new congressional bill to yank its taxpayer funding. And it should be. And congressional Republicans informed Life News today that more than 80 other House members reintroduced the title Ex-Abortion Provider Prohibition. I'm sorry, let me read that. I just got the tongue twist today because I'm just seeing this stuff gets you so fired up. But the title Ex-Abortion Provider Prohibition Act would revoke taxpayer funds from Planned Parenthood to ensure taxpayers are not financing the abortion industry. And speaking of Planned Parenthood, we're going to get into this next article, which is very disturbing, which goes along with this. I mean, speaking of the 327,000, I mean, that is insane, folks. Insane. 327,000 babies killed. 327,000. But, you know, women have rights too, you know. We have rights to abort the people, you know, babies and all that. No, you don't have a right, scumbag. You don't have a right. You know, you open your legs like a slut, like a whore, okay? Plain and simple. You open your legs like a slut and a whore, and you get pregnant. Don't dare to use abortion for birth control. Oh, it's my right. It's women's right. You know, you shove it right up your ass. How's that? Shove your women's rights right up your ass. And I'm all for women's rights, mostly. I am. I'm the first one to come out that, you know, women should be armed just as much as men. Women should, you know, I support women. I mean, all the women I know, they will tell you that. So I'm not a sexist person yet. But as far as this, because men support this, so it's not just attacking women. Men support abortion too. But you people, all of you, men, women, whoever you are, shove it right up your ass. And I'm going to be that blunt. You don't have a right to kill a kid, you scum, you piece of trash. Yeah, and you got CNS News reporting Planned Parenthood bragging, oh, we aborted 327,653 babies in financial year of 2014. 1 year, 327,653 babies dead, you piece of slimy trash. And I hope, I mean, I hope this happens. I really do. You know, I'm probably going to get in trouble for this, and I can give a rat's ass. And when these abortion clinics are closed, when there's nobody in the building, I hope somebody bombs the hell out of these things. I do. I really do. Load C4 in a damn cement truck or something, drive right through the building, blow it off the face of the earth. Make sure there's nobody in there. I'm not calling for any death at all. You know, God's got to deal with these scumbags. So, you know, God will have his way with these scum. So I'm not calling to kill anybody or nothing like that. When these places are empty, blow these things off the face of the earth. Because they're evil, they're putrid. How many, oh man, because if you've ever seen abortions, okay, how abortion is, I mean, I don't even like to talk about it because, you know, a lot of times it brings tears to your eyes, you know, just to see that, oh man, and, you know, the babies, even the fetuses, when they're, like, first formed, they actually fight. They're fighting when they're getting grind up. They're fighting. Literally, they're fighting. And these people love it. It's like, oh, it's a painless procedure because they stick the sting in you. It grinds the baby up in a tube, and the doctor's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna fulfill my satanic desires. Oh yeah, I'm gonna spill the blood of the unborn, because I love it. You know, these people just, and half these people knew, okay, what goes on in these abortion clinics. That's why these women, most of them, good women that do get abortions, end up all psychologically unfit later on because they finally realize what they done was wrong. The horror that child goes through. And don't tell me that baby doesn't feel it. Because a baby fights, you could see it fighting. Right in the fetus, I mean, it's so inhumane. It really is. Yeah, I just pray to God, and that God blesses those souls. And again, I have to reveal this number. This is outright disgusting. 2014, okay, the year 2014, last year, 327,000 27,653 babies were slaughtered by the scum of Planned Parenthood. And this is not counting the untold abortions either. This is the ones on record. 327,000 babies dead for their eugenics program because, you know what, we have rights. We have rights to kill because we're monsters, we're murderers, we're scum, okay? We want to suck that baby out and just fulfill our satanic desires. These people are evil monsters. Oh, and I encourage people, drive a truck right through that damn building. The Planned Parenthood buildings, and Congress, yes, defund these son of a bitches, okay? Drive a truck right through those damn buildings. Say, get the hell off our country. You know, get out of our planet, plain and simple. You know, go back to the pits and bowels of hell, where you came from, you scum. Oh, you know, it just really aggravates me, man. Like, just to see that kid, you know, I mean, I seen the procedures, I mean, the videos. I didn't want to see it, but I had to, because I knew for me to even talk about it, I would have to see something that goes on, and it's just pure evil. I mean, it just brought tears to my eyes. I wanted to cry, and I see that every day. I mean, now I go, like when my niece child was born here, my great niece, whatever you want to call her, you know, she was born, so I'm holding her. You know, it's a little premature infant, you know what I mean? I'm holding it, and it's so cute and so wondrous into the world, and I'm just thinking, you know, these global scum. And I'm just thinking, this poor baby, I started getting visions of this child just being mangled because they're trying to push both post-birth abortion now. And Obama's part of this post-birth abortion. You heard it right. That means after the baby's born, you bring the baby home, you got X amount of months to bring the child back, and they kill the child, and they call it abortion. So I'm thinking that, holding my niece in my arms, and I had to give it back to my niece there. And I'm like, I can't, because these eugenic scum, I mean, these bastards have ruined my life, okay? Because I can't hold a baby no more without those visions going through my head. You know, I mean, it's just so grotesque and disgusting. And of course, you people who get abortions, you don't see none of that. You lay on this chair and all of a sudden it's done. You don't see what goes on inside of you. You don't see that fetus getting mangled up and sucked out. And the bigger babies, they pierce the back of the skull. They do. They pierce the back of the skull, the vertebrae there. They suck the brains out of the child. Suck them out. And go watch the stuff for yourself. Go look at the procedures for abortions of different ages and stuff. It is grotesque and inhumane. And if you can sit there right now and tell me that I have rights, I can get abortion, you know what? You're a sick son of a bitch and rot in the pits of Hades of which way you came from. Because you're going to pay. You are going to pay. If you don't repent to Jesus right now, to God, you will pay. Okay, I'm telling you right now, especially you people in Planned Parenthood, you're going to pay the bigger price. I'm telling you right now, you eugenic scum, okay, the people behind Agenda 21, you're going to pay the ultimate price when you meet the face of God. I'm telling you right now, for every one of those child, every one of those innocents that you slaughtered, 327,653 babies in 1 year. Untold millions throughout the years. You're all gonna pay a hefty price, you son of a bitches. And all of you who agree with this, that agree abortion is a right and we should have abortion, you know what? Shove it right up your asses, because you know what? God's gonna deal with you, scum. And I'm done with this. I have to move on because we got a couple minutes left. We gotta move on. DARPA developing matrix-like brain implant powered from the spine. Steve Watson reports this. The secretive U.S. Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, known as DARPA, is developing a device that will plug directly into the brain and transmit images, bypassing the optical system altogether, according to reports. And under the guise of developing a cortical modem to enable blind people to see, DARPA researchers say that the device may eventually replace all virtual and augmented reality technology. And projects such as Google Glasses and Oculus Rift may be superseded by DARPA's program, which aims to create a high-definition image directly with the human brain, according to researchers. So this is basically plugging yourself right into the Matrix. I mean, that's exactly where Steve Watson's talking about. You know, they are plugging right into the Matrix, and I mean, they want to make this race of human beings that have artificial, like cyborgs. I mean, they're doing that now. I mean, it is nuts. And people say, and that's where they disguise, because we want to help people see. And well, nothing wrong with that. But it is more diabolical, especially coming from DARPA, there's more diabolical reasons that they want to do this for. Not to help you, no, because they want to transform humanity to cyborgs, to slaves, track you everywhere you go. I mean, it's that bad, really is, and it's much worse than it actually sounds. And you got Samsung here admits private conversations are being sent to internet server. Paul Joseph Watson InfoWars reports it responded to privacy concerns over the smart TVs recording private conversations and sending them to third party. Samsung admitted that voice data is sent to a server during the process. And how many years have we go on record? How many years on Infowars.com have we gone on record to tell you that your TVs are spying on you? We got laughed at. We got your phones are spying on you. We got laughed at. Now it's all coming out that, we do use your TVs and your phones to spy on you. That's all come out now. We're not these people, we're the ones laughing because nobody believed it. But we got less than a minute left to our last segment. Again, after the show, we got Seth Davis, the full hour interview with the truth about vaccinations. And we're going to go to our quote of the week. And our quote of the week is by George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. George Washington says, "It is impossible to rightly govern a nation without God and the Bible." And Abraham Lincoln says, "I believe the Bible is the biggest gift God has ever given to man. All the good of the Savior of the world is communicated to us through the book, known as the Bible." And, we can't say that because it's political, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, we're politically incorrect, because the globalists said we can't talk about God. But we got to go to a break. We'll be right back with our police state news, and this is Dan Bidondi.
What is oxy powder? Oxy powder is a scientifically formulated, all-natural intestinal and colon cleansing product. With oxy powder, you can safely eliminate toxic byproducts from your intestinal walls and colon and reduce the symptoms of bloating, gas, and constipation usually associated with an unhealthy diet. What makes oxy powder so special is its ability to clean the entire 25 to 30 feet of the digestive tract. It's designed to clean, oxidize, and reduce the amount of congested and toxic fecal matter in the small intestine and colon. In order to clean the digestive tract, you must turn that solid compaction into a liquid or gas using time-released oxygen through oxidation reduction. This is exactly what oxy powder does. By using oxy powder, you can melt away or oxidize the compaction from the small intestine and colon safely and effectively. It cleanses, flushes, and detoxifies your intestines even while you sleep. How easy is that? This is important because a clean intestinal tract is an essential step in achieving optimal health. Oxy powder is proven safe, it's non-habit forming, it is the only oxygen colon cleansing product to have been through phase 1, 2, and 3 FDA approved clinical studies on safety, constipation, and irritable bowel syndrome, or IBS. I can tell you right now, there is not a better oxygen colon cleansing product on the market. What sets oxy powder apart from the competition is that oxy powder does not contain harmful herbs which can damage the delicate intestinal lining. It adds oxygen into the bloodstream and bowel and does so in a natural and non-toxic way. It's backed with a 100% satisfaction 90-day money-back guarantee. Requires no mixing or drinking horrible tasting concoctions. It does not require taking time off from work or interrupting your daily schedule. It reduces uncomfortable bloating and excess gas, which helps flatten the stomach. It can be used safely 2 to 3 times weekly to maintain normal bowel function or flush out heavy meals after episodes of overeating. And it lifts out and bubbles away the deep-seated toxic buildup lining your intestinal walls. Also maintains intestinal harmony while promoting friendly probiotic growth. Make sure you place your order today. You will not be disappointed with Oxy Powder.
Welcome back to our final segment of the Truth Radio Show, headline news of the week with Dan Bidondi, and on alternatecurrentradio.com and shakeandwakeradio.com. And we're going to try to play, we're going to talk to the producers of both stations here to play our interview with Seth Davis, The Truth About Vaccination. So hopefully stay tuned. If not, Sunday night we put this up on YouTube, and you can watch the full show on the video edition. We show the articles on the screen. We'll have Seth Davis live via Skype over the internet here, so you can watch the full video edition of this show and our interview with Seth Davis, and some extras at that. And again, that's truthradioshow.com. But we got to move into the news here, and I apologize about that rant and the swearing, folks. I don't like to swear, I don't. But when you see that grotesque stuff, inhumane stuff, you get a good person can't just bury their hand in the sand, say, you know, I'm just gonna, you know, not pay attention to it. You can't not help just rip somebody's head off. That's how bad it is. That's a real person right there. A real man or a real woman, after seeing and knowing that stuff, will want to jump through 50-foot wall, concrete, just bash right through it and kick the ever living crap out of these global scum. But anyway, I mean, things are going from bad to worse, and this police state is heating up. And again, I do want to express, because I have friends and family who are cops, and friends who are cops now, police officers, and have fine police officers. And I know a lot of police officers, I do. And Rhode Island State Police, the Providence Police, Central Falls Police, all through the state of Rhode Island. I know a lot of these police officers. Great people. Capitol Police at the State House. Good people. I mean, I know them pretty good, and they're very well educated people. They abide by the constitutional rules. Good, honest officers. But again, there's always a group of individuals in each police department that think they're above the law. That think, because they probably got their asses kicked in high school, so now they want to go out, hide behind a badge, and bully the hell out of people. So you good cops out there, please don't take offense to this. But we have to reach out to the public. We have to reach out to you officers out there, because this is bad, folks. And you good cops out there, your lives are in jeopardy. I'm telling you right now. If you don't do something about the bad apples in your departments, I don't care if it's your captain or even your chief, your commanding officer, your sergeant, or whoever. Okay, if you don't do something about these scum, okay, the public's got to take action, as you're seeing now. They're going to take action, and they're going to go after any cop they see. And God forbid that would happen, because, again, there's a lot of great officers out there who have families and who will abide to serve and defend the public. But again, these bad apples in the police departments, they need to be stopped. Plain and simple. And the public, I mean, we need public awareness about this, to put pressures on elected officials to go after these scum, and put pressures on a lot of these bad cops so they stop doing what they're doing. And it's horrible, it really is. Now the police officers, the departments, they're starting to hire a lot of people with low IQs, because the people with low IQs do anything they're told. All these fresh young guns out of the military, that are just trigger happy, and they'll do anything they're told. Not all of them, but most of them will. But anyway, this is disturbing. Now, Steve Watson reports from InfoWars, mentally ill man waves broom, cops shot him dead and handcuffed him. And a mother in Miami Gardens called police asking them to help her calm her mentally disturbed son down. But when the cops showed up, the man, 25 years old, waved a broom at them, and they shot him multiple times, killing him. Now, I do armed security, okay? If some guy came around waving a broom at me, I'd probably laugh at him. I mean, I carry a weapon, and I hope I never have to use that thing. But, some guy came around and said, I'm going to kick your ass with this broom or whatever. I'm going to sit there and laugh at him. Let alone how many cops were there. The witnesses say there was a mentally disturbed kid, just a broom, swinging around. Instead of tasing the guy, which will be, justifiable, instead of macing the guy would be justifiable, but yet they resort to shooting him with a broom, knowing that this guy is mentally disabled. Let's taser the guy, let's mace him or something, not shoot him. But, the mother, Catherine Daniels Brown, told reporters that she called the police at 5 a.m. Sunday saying, "My son has got a mental problem. Please send somebody here to help me." And according to reports, when the police arrived at the scene, Lava Hall, who was sycophantic, refused to comply with the police orders and ran off. The cops followed him, attempted to use tasers to stop Hall. Well, the thing is, they didn't attempt it, because if they used the taser, they would have stopped it. It's just a cop-out, no pun intended. And a police statement notes that Hall was holding an object that he used against them as a weapon. While the statement did not give any detail on what the object was, witnesses all say it was a broom. You tell them that the child's mentally challenged, and all of a sudden you run out to him, and you know he doesn't have a gun. He had a broom, a red broom with straws. Old red broom, said the mother, the man's mother that. And she goes, if I would have known they would have killed my child, I would have never called them. And she was just calling for help. And that happened to my friend Jay Swift. I talk about this a lot. And my friend Jay Swift, he wasn't mentally disabled. No, he had this hyper reaction, whatever. It wasn't bad, but he was supposed to take medication. And the mother was instructed, hey, if he doesn't take his medication, you need to call the ambulance or the rescue, and they'll come help him take his medicine. And which he did so many times in the past, no problem. So anyway, the Pawtucket, Rhode Island, the police came, and they ended up shooting him. And mind you, that he ran away because they just went up to him, like, without even talking to him, just bullied the hell out of him. 3 cops, this one punk, just tried to bully him because he was a bigger guy. So he escapes with his life because they tried to taser him and everything else, him with the baton. He runs off into the hallway, gets in the hallway, strips down naked. Now, mind you, he's like this. I'm unarmed, stop. I'm not trying to resist, stop. He's telling them I'm unarmed. He's standing there, and the cop comes up right behind him, pop, right in the back of the spine. Kills him dead in front of his family, in front of the neighbors inside the apartment building. But they justified, he broke away from us. He was naked. Okay, the family won a lawsuit, but even that, the lawsuit doesn't, fulfill the loss of your son. Very disgusting, really is, and this happens all the time. And it's just these punk scum, and I would challenge them. Take your badge off. If you feel like a hero, okay, you take your badge off and meet me in the parking lot. You want to feel like a hero? Meet me in the parking lot. Take your badge off, and we'll have a couple rounds. You know what I mean? I would kick the crap out of you, and you're a bunch of coward scum, plain and simple. Indian man visits family in Alabama. Cops paralyze him for walking around neighborhood. Steve Watson reports a 57-year-old Indian man visiting his family in Alabama has been left paralyzed after police body slammed him into the ground in an exchange that occurred when the man went for a stroll around the block. Mr. Patel, a farmer from a small town in India, was visiting his son, 3 years a U.S. citizen, to help look after a 17-month-year-old grandson. When he decided to take a look around the neighborhood, someone called the cops and reported Mr. Patel, who has been approved as a permanent resident of the United States, as a suspicious person. And officers arrived on the scene, and upon discovering Mr. Patel couldn't speak English very well, they began to pat him down, and Patel is said to have repeatedly told them he couldn't speak English and pointed to his son's house, also repeating his son's phone number, but no one was available. And one of the officers grabbed him by the arm, twisted him in the back there, and slammed him to the ground, face first. And you can see the video on the article right on Infowars.com. Indian man visits family in Alabama. Cops paralyze him for walking around the neighborhood. Very disgusting. The guy was very nice and calm, very collective, and trying to point and say, I don't speak English, my son's house. They just, like a bunch of jerks, racked his arm up, threw him to the ground face first, because they don't care. They have no respect for anybody. I mean, these scumbags. And again, it's not for all cops. It's for these individual corrupt scum that should get their asses kicked. And I hope the public does that. I hope every time there's some kind of police brutality, police state, that the public raises up, kicks the crap out of that officer, puts him in his own handcuffs, and calls a higher authority to have that officer arrested. I hope that happens. I do. Because most of the time the courts don't work no more. The courts always go in favor with the cop. The cop can admit, he didn't have nothing, but I shot him. Case dismissed. And you got here, you got cop shoots child for standing next to another child holding a toy gun. And Steve Watson reports this Infowars. A police officer in L.A. shot a 15-year-old kid who was part of a group of kids playing with a toy gun in the alley, the L.A. Times reports. And the child who was shot wasn't even holding the toy gun, according to the report. It was just in the vicinity. And the police report notes that officers encountered the group and drew their own firearms, ordering the boys to drop the weapon. When he didn't drop it, one of the officers opened fire, striking the boy closest to him. which, again, the kid that had the gun wasn't fired upon. It was a kid that didn't have a gun. So that's the problem right there. You know what I mean? And the boy was rushed to the hospital and he's following treatment. And again, I can see if it was say a dark alley, you don't know if the kid's adult or not, or even if it's a real gun. You tell him to drop the gun. If he does and he points at you, you know what? That's the cop's right to shoot the person, because he's got to protect his own life. But why shoot somebody else that doesn't have a weapon? The kid's probably standing like this, and the other kid next to him, with the gun, so they shoot the kid with his hands up. That's unbelievable. And moving on, a video here. Family calls 911 to report stabbing. Cops show up, assault victim, and arrest the family. So you call 911 for help, then the cops come and assault you. They don't arrest you. And then you're the victim to the suspect. And Free Thought Project reports this. In an extremely graphic video uploaded on Facebook on Wednesday afternoon, police officers in Selma, California, have been assaulting and treating a 20-year-old victim of a stabbing, his frightened 14-year-old brother, and a 20-year-old mother of his child like criminals. And this video is disgusting. The victims and his family here say Officer Escalara of the Mission Hills PD should be held accountable for his actions. The incident took place on Friday around 10:30 p.m. The police have been called to help Charles Wesson, who had just been stabbed 9 times. Details regarding the stabbing are unclear at this time, but we do know that the assailant is known to the victim, and the detectives are looking for him. But guy stabbed 9 times. I mean, you're probably bleeding to death. You call for help. Cops show up and assault him, then arrest him later. And then here you got a Colorado man cuffed for refusing to share video with police. And this is KREM 2 News, KREM News, reporting. A Lakeside Walmart customer pulled out his cell phone in front of the store on Monday evening to capture video of Lakeside police arresting a man suspected of shoplifting. The man shooting the video, Chris Hoover, didn't expect he'd end up in handcuffs too. And this video is crazy. He's just standing there watching, which is your First Amendment to do so. And the cops come over and just bully his way through and arrest him for videotaping it because he refused to show the video. Oh, let me see the video. Yeah, so this way they can delete your video, because if they were brutally attacking this guy, regardless if he shoplifted or not, I mean, they don't want no evidence. So of course, give me the phone, So they threatened this guy and they arrested him. And moving on. Another disturbing news. Family asked cops to check in on sick veteran. Cops break into house and kill him. And Steve Watson reports a family in North Carolina asked police officers to check on the welfare of elderly relative, a Korean War veteran who has recovering from surgery. In response to the request, the cops went into the man's house at midnight, broke in, and then shot him dead. Clearly, the family were under the impression that the police officers can still be relied upon to perform such helpful community duties, but they were tragically wrong. WSOC-TV reports that while the family asked the officers to check on 74-year-old James Howard Allen on Saturday afternoon, the police opt to visit the man's home very late in the evening. And when there was no answer, firefighters were called to force the door open, and upon entering the building, police saw Mr. Allen, who just had undergone heart surgery, pointing a gun toward them, prompting one officer to unload his weapon at Allen. And basically he gets his door kicked in, well within his rights to defend his home. And I'm sure if they said it was police, he would probably have dropped it, but they insisted on blowing this guy away for defending his home without, just busting in your door. Well, regardless of the police state, in later news, I mean, this is a real police officer here. This police chief here treats homeless man to lunch. InfoWars reports this. A police chief in Tennessee is being hailed for taking the time to help a homeless man get out of his busy street. Mount Juliet Police Chief James Hambrick was on the beat yesterday when he responded to a call about a homeless man in a wheelchair getting too close to traffic. Instead of going off and bullying him like a lot of cops do, beating his face in because he's homeless, this chief, the police chief here, Hambrick, called the Mount Juliet Church of Christ to escort the man to his destination and even purchase the man lunch after the fact. A department Facebook post regarding Chief Hambrick's selfless act has garnered more than 1,000 likes and more than 50 comments and shares. So that's a good police officer. You help the community, you help people in the community, you serve and protect the community. You don't go abuse them. So there's a lot of cops that are doing that. Of course, the media would never report that either, because they don't want to, they want to keep the fear alive. It goes both ways, whatever. But and that right there is a great police officer. That's an example of what a police officer should be like. And a lot of police are like that. The ones I know would do something like that. Good people, but again, you got these bad apples in the police departments that need to be stopped. Plain and simple, they need to be stopped. And you police officers in these departments that know these bad apples, do what you have to do again, because your lives are going to be on the line, folks. You police officers out there who are good cops, because these bad apples, they're going to ruin it for you. The public's getting outraged already. Look at the riots going on, so we need to stop the bad apples in the police departments. But this will conclude our news broadcast for this edition of the Truth Radio Show on AlternateCurrentRadio.com and ShakeandWakeRadio.com. And stay tuned. Right after this, we got our exclusive interview here with Seth Davis, the truth about vaccinations. Hard-hitting piece. Dan Bidondi for TruthRadioShow.com. We're in the middle of the month of February of 2015, and the war on vaccinations continues. Should people get vaccines? Should there a law to get vaccines, or should there not be a law? And should parents have their own right to decide if they want themselves or their children vaccinated? But just a moment, we're going to be joined by Seth Davis. He's a journalist for Two Real News. He's going to talk about the truth about vaccines. And we are now joined by Seth Davis. And how you doing, Seth?
Oh, pretty good, Dan. Yourself?
Not bad. And this war on vaccines is unreal. The media now is making this right versus left issue when it's not about right or left. It's about public health. It's about safety of our children. And you wrote a lengthy article here. I didn't get a chance to read it all. I'm sorry about that. Just been so busy.
Oh, it's all right, Dan.
And you got a company about 240 links. And there's more than that. We know that. But you put the most important ones there. Just the articles and publications and all proof that vaccines are bad. And first of all, you want to do a brief introduction to yourself?
Okay. I've Seth Davis of Two Real News. Been doing this for about 8 months as far as the journalism thing. Really stepped into everything from booking for different shows such as Truth is Stranger Than Fiction or Truth Sentinel. Also been helping out and working with the guys from The Average Liberator with Corey Washington there. And it's been pretty nice actually getting up and standing up and saying something and doing something. This case, as far as this article, this is by far the longest one I've done so far. Monsanto, I've done an article about an entire lengthy thing of the entire history of the Monsanto company, all the way from its inception with Mr. John Francis Queenie, all the way to modern day with Bill Gates. And I've done many other articles so far, but none quite so lengthy as this. At first I thought I was starting to push it with like the 18 paragraph ones and everything, but now it's, about 23 here, so.
Yeah, it's, the thing is you can't have too much information about
well, I couldn't put everything that was in the links there into the article. I literally had to cut it down as much as I possibly could, and that's why I included such a lengthy thing of links at the end there that people can peruse for themselves and look at their own pace and everything to do their own research, because I don't want people to just believe me at my word or just believe you at your word or whatever there. Yeah. I want them to actually go and look this stuff up, because I guarantee you, if all you do is spend an hour looking some of this stuff up, looking at the vaccine inserts that I provide the links directly to every last major vaccine out there that you can think of. I've got in the links there to CDC website, the EPA website, the OSHA website, and articles they've done, to the publications put out by the National Institute of Health. And give me a break, man. These people want to tell you that you don't have any evidence backing up people that are hesitant to get vaccinations or skeptical about getting their child vaccinated, when there's quite a bit of information to back them up. You might still feel that you want to do that. Fine. You might still feel that you want to do that to your kids. Fine. but don't try to mandate and push all this fear propaganda out there to mandate that everyone has to do it, because there's quite a few people with quite a few extremely legitimate reasons, not just religious reasons, but personal medical reasons, just based on literal rational thinking. And they call you anti-science, but it's actually we're believing in the science that is being shown that the ingredients of the adjuvants or additives in vaccines themselves are absolutely dangerous.
Absolutely. And again, a lengthy article, which is great. I mean, there's a lot of information in this article here. And this is on the Facebook page now. You set up a website yet? Or you just got the Facebook page going right now?
Just the Facebook page so far. I've been working with Pete and everything from Pete Wickert from Truth is Stranger Than Fiction to get like a website stuff up and everything. But at the same time, having the funds to do this stuff is quite a challenge, because I mean, you have just everyday life stuff that you have to be able to take care of and bills and whatnot, and we don't make any money off of this. So it's just, yeah, you got, it's all on passion, man. It's all on passion. So it's gonna be a while, but we're working towards it right now. Pete has a YouTube page. That Corey guy has a YouTube page. Scott has a YouTube page of Scott Sentinel, True Sentinel. I know you've got a YouTube page. Eventually, I'm going to expand to there, and then a website and whatnot. But it's just being able to have stuff to actually go on the website in large amounts and not just links, because I would prefer to eventually expand to having a team of writers working with Too Real News.
That's great. And now let's get on to the mainstream media for a minute. Mainstream media, again, they're trying to make this a right versus left issue. And your thoughts on that?
I think that they're trying to make it any sort of demonization or rabbit trail that they can put it down is what they're going to do. If they can make it a right versus left thing, if they can make it a religious versus non-religious thing, if they can make it a science versus anti-science thing, they absolutely will. And I mean, just for a second there, that thing of what they're calling people anti-science is rather ridiculous, because it shows this belief in the first place that, quote, science, or what these people deem as science, is absolute fact, it's absolute veritas, and that thus anyone that's anti-science or against science is against truth, and thus irrational, illogical, crazy, what have you, and thus the stream of ad hominem attacks without actually giving real fact-based evidence to back up their claims.
Absolutely. And now in your article here, what's the big highlights you want to point out?
First, let's just be completely blunt here. The CDC allows you to go on their own website, cdc.gov, and I believe it's a VacGen/additives that you go to, and it details a quick little blurb that you can look at of the major adjuvants within vaccines, but then you can download a PDF in which you can read the exact ingredients of all the major vaccines.
Well, yeah, and there's another page too, vaccine side effects. It's right on the CDC's website. Again, but they lie about the numbers, but they'll tell you what's, the side effects of the vaccinations are. And again, they lie about the numbers of people who are affected by it. But I mean, it's funny how they openly admit it, right on the inserts, right on the boxes, how they contain thimerosal, formaldehyde. I mean, just all these carcinogens.
Monosodium glutamate and aluminum.
Yeah, it has zero health benefits at all, but yet the CDC goes on to say, oh, it's still safe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they also include FD&C yellow number 6, aluminum lake, formalin, which is a derivative of formaldehyde, just as toxic and carcinogenic, monosodium glutamate, which we already mentioned, glutaraldehyde, ammonium sulfate, polysorbate 20, polysorbate 80, phenoxyethanol, ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid, or EDTA, lactose anhydrous, all sorts of nasty and very controversial stuff, especially the WI-26 and WI-38 diploid cells that they have of the fibroblast lung tissue from aborted fetuses from the 1960s that they use.
I can't even pronounce half that stuff, man. I stink when it comes to medical terminology.
Well, that's why when somebody were to read this and actually look into it, it's so it's enough to make you skeptical of why you'd want to sit back and take maybe a few hours, few days, few weeks, few months to kind of sift through this information at your own rate before you just jump on a bandwagon either way. I mean, I would honestly really appreciate that, because it makes no sense if somebody just starts being like, oh, I'm against vaccination. Well, why? Because then when somebody starts to try and push them for information, they don't have any information. Their information is just based off of listening just literally to somebody else. And while you can trust that person, that's fine. As far as convincing other people, man, use some damn evidence. It gets frustrating doing this.
Oh, it does. It really does. And like, I mean, you get labeled a lunatic. I mean, it's nuts. It really is. And now the article here, if you want to describe people, so we go back in history first. Describe the history of the science of vaccines.
Okay, starting early on here. Well, the term vaccine is actually derived from variola vaccinii, a name given to cowpox by English scientist Edward Jenner in 1798. Concept is based on science dating back to at least 11th century China, which is called variolation. This involved scraping the the patient's arm with a shallow scrape and getting the either the dried pustules or, in some cases, still moist pustules of smallpox or whatever sort of disease we're talking about there, and rubbing it into the shallow cuts of people to try and give them an artificial form of immunity to a disease. And while there were certain problems with it in the translation, it actually worked to a certain degree, but upon its importation over the centuries to Europe, there are some differences that evolved with it in terms of bloodletting and all sorts of practices that they had of making deep gouges into people and directly inserting wet, like a living tissue still from somebody that was sick, as opposed to dried secretions there that had been powderized and then applied. There was a certain science that they'd actually developed to it in their own way that was actually really interesting, but by the 1700s, it had really caught on in the United Kingdom, and especially in the terms of variolation and everything. But once vaccination had taken over, it was kind of interesting. It's like a propaganda war between one versus the other to make a monopoly.
Yeah, and the home birth of eugenics, the UK.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's part of what I include in this article, which is actually really interesting and something that not a lot of people would understand, is that Bill Gates, I mean, well, here, where is it? I've got one of out of NBC Bay Area. There's female inmates sterilized in California prisons without approval. This is nearly, I believe it was 148, nearly 150 inmates from 2006 to 2010 were sterilized forcefully. And this goes back with tubal ligation. This goes back to the 90s and could be in the hundreds or thousands
Unbelievable.
of women in California prisons that had been forcefully sterilized. And that's a great segue there, because people will understand why would people wouldn't do that, you know what I mean? People wouldn't practice eugenics in pretty much broad daylight, what equates to it. I mean, how does that tie with vaccines? In that particular case, it doesn't, but it does go with the medical tyranny, the idea of doing something to someone against their will. And these mandators really show that they're kind of fascists. I mean, not kind of, they are. They're legitimately going to the government to try and force something onto somebody else because they themselves are, cowardly.
Yeah, exactly what they are. I mean, like, especially just give somebody medication without their consent, or, especially poison them. Either way, it's still unconstitutional. It's still against...
Well, it's wrong.
It's wrong,
let's
period.
I agree with the Constitution and everything, but let's just say, all of that's just nothing. It's just us. No documents, no nothing.
Human
it is
rights in
morally
general,
wrong for you to force that on somebody, period, especially knowing that it's coming with all sorts of risks that can do everything from brain damaging this person to putting them into a shock and either a coma or death by having their their throat passage swell up until they can't breathe and they go into a fit and die. I mean, come on, man. That's wrong. You can't just force that on somebody. And I think a lot of people that are willing to do this on behalf of other people, in this case, their kids or their elderly parents or somebody that they know that's in the hospital and sick already, that they're going to push vaccines on you. But allowing this to happen to somebody else without looking into this first, it seems really immoral to me. Continuing on here with the eugenics angle, in November of 2014, the Kenya Catholic Doctors Association, which is actually a pro-vaccine pro-vaccination organization, I might add, it's kind of an interesting side note to add, found that the UN-sponsored tetanus vaccines administered to 2.3 million girls and women in Kenya were spiked with HCG antigen, an abortion-inducing agent, without their knowledge, and a blatant example of the eugenics-based policies of the World Health Organization and the United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund.
Unbelievable. And yeah, we know this is all part of a eugenics thing. With, to try to tell that to the public is like, now, like, you're putting your tinfoil hat on. No, you're a conspiracy theorist. You already get labeled that anyway. But, to try to tell people that that's the diabolical part of vaccinations, and it goes to the spiritual agenda too. But, it's just the chemicals. I mean, like, that's where I try to reach out to the people. First of all, study what formaldehyde is. Study what thimerosal is. Has zero health effects. And for those of you who don't know, you should. Formaldehyde is what they put in the dead bodies because, when people used to die, a lot of times they used to come back to life because they weren't really dead yet. So they replace the blood with formaldehyde, so it makes a zero possibility of coming back to life, and plus it preserves the body a little longer. So, that being said, what in the hell does formaldehyde have to do with, fighting off, getting immune against the disease?
Yeah, well, formaldehyde there for a second. OSHA lists on their own website that formaldehyde, if something, a substance or a container or whatever it is, exudes more than 0.5 parts per million, which is 0.5 micrograms of formaldehyde, it must be labeled potential cancer hazard. Must be labeled. What you get injected with in some of these vaccines that use formaldehyde can be found in stuff in parts all the way up to 200 micrograms, over 400 times the amount that is a base save there of a potential cancer risk, and you're having it injected directly into your bloodstream.
That's right on the box of the flu shot.
Yeah, at a minimum, the ones that use it will go to about 15 micrograms, which is still 30 times the amount that's a potential cancer risk.
That's unbelievable. And people, you need to really look into this. And if you want to run off a couple more, explain, give the name and explain what each of these chemicals do. We know there's hundreds of them, but the main few that people really need to be concerned about.
Okay, well, I'll get to that in a second. Just adding here, for you, as far as your experience, I'm sure a lot of the listeners out there will know that it's, for whatever reason, fairly easy to get people to look at GMOs. It's fairly easy to get people to look at the food that they're eating and to be like, oh, not want to trust Bill Gates and genetically engineered things. I get that. But at the same time, these people will look at you when you start talking about media propaganda, or you start talking about government spying, or you start talking about eugenics and vaccinations being dangerous because they've been adulterated with all sorts of chemical adjuvants that are actually just, it's the equivalency of just injecting yourself with poison, because it is. But to add that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has put over $2.5 billion into Gavi, the, quote, vaccine alliance. Gavi is a public-private, quote, healthcare partnership that provides vaccinations to poor countries, which I might add is a very ubiquitous term. Just poor countries.
Oh, yeah.
And this is the guy that's talked about how if we could just, if we get vaccines and we do a really good job with healthcare, which in his words are, or his opinion or his view there is death panels is healthcare.
Oh, yeah, that was at the 2010 TED conference, TED conference, and basically saying they made it was an equation how we could reduce the carbon emissions on the planet, and one P for population, and he goes, one of these got to come down to zero. Then everybody in the audience, all the globals, you can hear him laugh sinisterly because they knew they were talking about the population. And to do this, we need to come up with newer vaccines and healthcare and all that. So he's openly saying, hey, vaccines are being used to depopulate the planet. And
yeah,
the
either
Gates
through
Foundation,
sterilization or poisoning somebody,
they're the leading
and
foundation
causing severe mental
vaccines.
degenerative diseases there. If they want to cause stuff that's neural degenerative diseases there, they can cause stuff that just kills you outright. I mean, it's sick. It's weird. It's a form of slow kill because in many ways, these people being cowards don't have the fortitude to actually stand up and say, oh, I want to kill a bunch of people. So instead, they use little soft means of your food, of your vaccines, of your water there or whatever, with all these chemical adjuvants and all this stuff that most of it is the byproducts of heavy industrial processing for all sorts of other stuff. I mean, Aluminum, man. Aluminum. How insane is it that you're letting somebody inject that into you? It blows my mind sometimes.
Now,
But
aluminum,
going
what
back
is
through
the
there,
deadly effects on the human body with aluminum?
Yeah, well, going back through there of just some of our studies. I mean, the first and foremost is my favorite there, just because you hear these guys in the media say that there's no studies there that show vaccines and autism. Vaccines and autism, no correlation. Okay, right here, there's a Department of Economics and Finance out of Baruch College / City University in New York, New York. This is a positive association found between autism prevalence and childhood vaccination uptakes across the United States population. You can look that up right now. That's on National Institute of Health, PubMed, and the U.S. National Library of Medicine. And those are where the rest of these studies that I'm going to list off are coming from about the effects of these different ingredients that we listed before.
Wow.
Persistent behavioral impairments and alterations of brain dopamine system after early postnatal administration of thimerosal in rats. This is out of the Department of, in Warsaw, Poland, the Institute of Psychiatry and Neurology.
Yeah,
well, I mean, no, let's keep going, Dan.
Yeah,
let's
let's
keep
go.
going. There's some of these people want to tell you, you have no, in case you want to give some ammo to the, was it the Bob and Chez show guys or whatever there that like to just take stuff out of context. Let's keep going. Let's get, if you wanted to talk about people that are going to, when they try and attack us for this, that are going to actually listen to this and that are going to hear these studies, are going to look this up themselves and are going to see this information.
Here's the whole thing about that. They actually brought a lot of people, Bob and Chez show, they brought people over to my show to say, oh, I want to see what Dan Bidondi's about. And I got emails from a lot of these people. They made, bad comments and all that, but they actually watched some of my videos and they apologized. They said, wow,
Yeah.
it's like, we didn't know this stuff. You're showing real documentation. And I tell them, don't listen to me. It's, right from the studies, and so they actually did me a favor in bringing me some people over. And
well,
but
I mean, sort of the
everybody
media
that
hit
attacks
pieces
us, yeah.
they try and put out on you in, what was that, like Boston Globe or the MSNBC type stuff, all that does is make you bigger, man.
Oh, it does.
All of it, because people that can see through the BS. Either that or they get so wrapped up in it that they come to attack you and then they stay for a bit to listen to your stuff to try and make fun of it or something and then realize
when Chris
that they're
Hayes,
not
Chris
portraying
Hayes
you
from
correctly.
MSNBC, when he attacked me, it's Rachel Maddow, I think. I think it's a double character. But anyway, when he attacked me, it brought a lot of people over to the show to say, want to go see what this lunatic Dan Bidondi's about. And then they're like, wait a minute, he's not a lunatic, he's telling the truth. And, Rachel Maddow, Chris Hayes, whatever, he just looks like a fool and a buffoon because, again, even in those pieces, it was about the guns, whatever, but he could never, the whole time he's making fun of me and everything else, he could never debunk anything I was stating. So it's the same thing in all these, the Bob and Chez show and all these people. They can never debunk any information, but they'll attack me because I mispronounce a name or word wrong or misspelling. But, and I know we're going to get attacked with the vaccine stuff here. I know that. And but you know what?
Yeah,
Bring it on.
already have right now. Just in the few days that this has been out and the entire time I was working on this and everything, and just in my daily life as far as people asking you stuff, you'll get attacked a lot. People that'll call you stupid, people that'll think, oh, you're anti-science, people think that you're just ridiculous, that you're a religious nutter or something like that.
Or a far right-winger. I'm like, I hate to burst your bubble, I'm not right-wing,
right-winger, extremist type stuff. It's ridiculous.
Then you should see the looks on their faces when you tell them, hey, I'm not right-winger. What do you mean?
They
independent
almost can't comprehend it.
Yeah.
And then it pisses them off. It's kind of like the right-wing people, when you start kind of bashing on the Republican establishment and everything there and the problems with them, the right-wing people will be like, oh, what are you, one of those lefties? And then you're just, no, man, I don't identify with those guys at all either. And there's, they can barely even comprehend it, and so some people will just get mad. Other people will wonder what you're about and start looking into stuff for themselves.
Exactly.
And that's where the hope lies.
That flag in your background there, that flag, does not represent the Republican or Democratic people. It represents liberty people, which are independent constitutionalists like the Founding Fathers. So
Agreed.
Before anybody labels us as far-right extremists or lefties, whatever, we're not. We're independent constitutionalists, like every American should be,
We're Americans.
Amen.
Amen, brother. Let's see what we got here. University Children's Hospital in Basel, Switzerland. We have a thing of fever following immunization. While we don't have good enough standardized definitions of what fever is, and it has since become better because this study is in 2005 that this came out, there is most definitely a correlation between fever increases and immunization. So that's definitely something to think about. And a lot of those kids that have autism there will go into a hardcore fever-like state and will go almost catatonic for a while, and will then come out of it and then just won't talk. And they will have been able to have talked and do all sorts of things. And then suddenly they start to revert and they can't anymore. And that's where a lot of the people believe that autism there is connected to vaccinations, because a lot of that will happen in the days and preceding about a week or two after vaccination.
Oh yeah, I mean, even the Autism Foundation had no choice to come out to admit that vaccines are one of the direct causes of autism. I mean, look at so ever since I've been pushing vaccines, the autism rate just increases every year. I mean, before vaccines, did you ever hear of a case of autism? You know what I mean? You just look at the
there
stats.
have always been people with brain disorders and everything as far as human population, but it's been a tiny amount.
Yeah,
just to back you up there, 1 out of every 6 children in the United States has a developmental disability. The rate of autism among boys is 1 in 42 and 1 in 68 among children of both genders, because in girls it's somewhere like 120 something. 1 in 120 something. In 1996, the official reported U.S. autism numbers were about 1/14 of what they are now. Well, granted, we can say that maybe they had a less wide definition of what constitutes autism and everything. That's still not enough to account for that.
Not at all. I mean, every year it's just, the numbers keep getting closer and closer together. Soon it's going to be 1 out of every 2 kids. I mean, it's getting that way. It's heading that way, direction.
Well, I mean, in 2011, this is another connection with vaccines that beyond autism, not a lot of people look at, is that the U.S. had the 7th highest cancer rate in the world in 2011. And something to kind of think about there is that why have cancer rates skyrocketed so much also? And this has to do with the next few studies we're going to be going into. This is another one of the just side ingredients that are added to different vaccines. Is polysorbate 80. This is a study out of the Department of Dermatology, Friedrich Alexander University of Erlangen, Nuremberg, Erlangen, Germany. Polysorbate 80 is a ubiquitously used solubilizing agent that can cause severe non-immunologic anaphylactoid reactions. In other words, putting you into a state of hyperallergic reactions and possibly death, depending on the severity of it.
Yeah.
And you're having polysorbate 80 in this case injected directly
Now, explain what polysorbate 80 is.
It's just a really ubiquitously used. Well, here, let me bring it up. I had a little write-up.
No, because I'm just trying to break this down for new listeners out there,
just
people
for,
who don't understand what these
so
chemicals are.
Easier to get. Where did I have it? Right here. Polysorbate 20 is really commonly used. Polysorbate 80 is a, what is it? Not a chelating agent, a preservative, a stabilizer. That's the term they use, a stabilizer that they use in it. And it's actually just a chemical compound. A synthetically made chemical compound that they add to some of your food and some of your skin products and stuff like that. It's one of the many really highly controversial ingredients that are in our food, along with, well, EDTA. That's another thing that's in vaccines. That is a chelating agent that's really common, and it's used in breads and stuff like that as a, an anti-acidity agent. And it's pretty heavily disputed as well there, because it could cause an allergic reaction as well, irritation to the skin if it comes into contact with your skin, but at the same time, like, oh no, it's fine if you inject it into your bloodstream. Continuing on, let's see, monosodium glutamate. This is out of a villain and promoter of liver inflammation and dysplasia. This is at a Department of Diagnostic Pathology, Graduate School of Medicine and Pharmaceutical Sciences, University of Toyama, Japan. This is at 2008. And this shows that mice with MSG there, or that they treated with MSG over their study mice that they hadn't, developed all sorts of liver problems as far as inflammation and increased size there of like fatty liver. Meaning that they're having, well, liver failure, liver shutdown. So almost equivalency of cirrhosis or hepatitis or something.
You didn't even touch the fabric of the surface, man, and there's just so much stuff that you need to.
Well, that's why I'm still
tip of the spear. You know what I mean? You need to investigate people out there. You really do.
Yeah. And quick here at University of California, San Diego. This acetaminophen use, measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine and autistic disorder, the results of a parent survey. A preliminary study found that acetaminophen use after the measles, mumps, rubella vaccination is associated with an increase in autistic disorder. That's an interesting one to keep there. Hepatitis B vaccination in male neonates and autism diagnosis. Let's see. The findings suggest that the U.S. male neonates vaccinated with the hepatitis B vaccine prior to 1999 had a threefold higher risk for parental report of autism diagnosis compared to boys not vaccinated as neonates during that same time period. Non-white boys bore a greater risk. There's another angle of it that people haven't covered there, which I think is kind of interesting here. This one is out of Simpson University, Redding, California. Measles, mumps, rubella vaccination timing and autism among young African-American boys. A reanalysis of CDC data. Conclusion. The present study provides new epidemiologic evidence showing that African-American males receiving the MMR vaccine prior to 24 months of age or 36 months of age are more likely to receive an autism diagnosis. It's literally, it's right there. They just said it. Detection of measles virus RNA in urine specimens from vaccine recipients. This is talking about vaccine shedding. There's a it's a CDC study out of Atlanta, Georgia there, obviously, talking about how that happens. Yeah, you shed the virus after you've been injected with it. So that's why people that have been vaccinated can still spread the virus or the bacteria there, or actually no virus there after being injected for a period
they're
of days
shifting the blame to us. You know what I mean? They're trying to say unvaccinated people are, like I got an article here real quick from the Infowars.com, Kit Daniels. Mother blames unvaccinated after newborn gets measles despite evidence to the contrary. You know, so that's one article here about people are attacking unvaccinated people. And that's why they're trying to push bills to say, hey, these anti-vaxxers, you know, must be mandatory to get vaccinations. And so we're trying to fight against that.
Yeah, well, I'd had the vaccine article here on the back burner there for a while, and I'd just been kind of collecting research evidence and everything as much as I could on it beforehand. But then I really, about 3 weeks to a month ago, saw a massive increase in the amount of media hysteria and well, let's call it what it is, fear porn that they're engaging in, of trying to ramp up the attention there of everybody with the vaccine, the measles outbreak, and that everyone needs to get vaccinated because the measles are so dangerous and all this stuff. And then the mandated vaccine stuff that they're putting out to force people to get vaccinated, to revoke religious and personal belief exemption forms and stuff like that. Just a wave of fascism that I foresaw through a lot of different circumstances, that I decided it was time to stand up and do the research and put it down for other people, because I was really tired of hearing this same old one-sided story in the media, and I thought it needed to be reported for all the people who have been damaged by this, all the people that have died, all the kids that have had their lives pretty much ruined by this. They needed to be spoken for.
Absolutely.
And indeed, the stuff with that it affects non-white children and more than it affects white children is another angle of eugenics. That's actually another really serious topic that would be great to come in and talk with you and your audience about sometime there.
Absolutely. And what do you think of this? So here, Time Magazine telling people unvaccinated families' addresses should be made public. The names and addresses of parents who won't vaccinate their children should be made available on the internet through a public registry. So they're trying to basically target non-vaxxers. You know what I mean? This is crazy. It's like the gun people. People own guns. It should be a public list. You know what I mean? It's like we got to be put on a list now because you want to poison your kids, but you know we have a right to not poison our kids, and you want to make us the enemy, make us the people in the spotlight and the target and everything.
Well, they do it like that to try and paint you in the same light as like a sex offender or something. Yeah. And that's part of their psychological operation that they're running on you, which is really interesting. And when you try and talk about people about that there, they just once again totally shut down because, oh, nobody does that. People aren't doing that. No, I'm not being propagandized to when I watch the TV.
They want a list of all the gun owners and all the unvaccinated people. This way, when they pass, if they pass draconian laws that violate these, rights here, they're gonna come. They know exactly where to come to find you, to vaccinate you, and take your guns. Plain and simple.
Yep. Well, and I mean, think you have how many tens of millions of people there watching or whatever, The Walking Dead and stuff like that, or the zombie movies and everything, and thinking those are the real zombies, when indeed they're being nice sheep and going up and getting their own vaccines to become vaccine-induced zombies themselves.
Oh yeah, it's like a live episode. Just go to a vaccine clinic. There's your live episode of The Walking Dead.
And I know that's mean to say there as far as to the people that have suffered because of it, but to me the real zombies are the people that listen to the damn mainstream media, as far, especially as bad as Fox is, and Fox can be one of the worst, but at the same time, MSNBC it's beyond just the mouthpiece of the White House. It's just trash. It is like the most dirt garbage, not even news that you can imagine, and yet people somehow still buy this crap.
They do, and you know, side of this, you got a Colorado bill in Colorado there that would support parents opting out of child vaccinations, which we already do have a right to opt out, but there is a bill trying to enforce that, to say, hey, if parents want to opt out of vaccinating their kids, here you go.
It'd be illegal for you to stop that.
Yeah, and this is a contradiction. I got told, if you get the vaccine, just say for the flu, you won't catch it from somebody else. All right, if I won't catch it, I'm safe, right? Yeah?
No.
So what do you care if a non-vaccinated person is around you then? Oh, he could give it to us. Wait a minute, you just told me I'd be safe if I took the vaccine. But he could give it to us.
The irony, especially with the flu, is that there's so many variants or strains of flu that it's asinine to act like they could ever vaccinate you for all flu or for the seasonal flu, which they don't even know what it is. I mean, they themselves admit they have to start working on this stuff almost a year in advance.
It's unbelievable. And
so unless they're creating the flu itself there through the vaccines of what they're going to treat with next year's vaccine, then I don't know what it is they're injecting into you.
Exactly. Another article here, 2 people contract mumps after receiving mumps vaccine, reported by Don Salazar, Infowars.com. And it was doctors in Washington are scrambling to explain why 2 MMR vaccine recipients contracted the mumps virus after being vaccinated. So I'd like to see a vaccine advocate explain that one.
Yep, agreed. To continue on here, to get the last of our studies here out of the way really quick,
sure.
Before we can just go on to whatever else we need to cover here. The hepatitis B vaccine induces apoptotic death in HEPA 1 through 6 cells. This is out of the College of Animal Sciences and Technology, Huazhong Agricultural University, Wuhan, People's Republic of China. Okay. This is talking about how the hepatitis B vaccine induces apoptotic death in liver cells and causes, kidney cells or liver cells? Wait a minute. Vaccine explosion. Yes, liver cells. Okay, yeah, exactly. It causes apoptotic death in liver cells, thus liver damage.
Might as well be both, because you'll be dead with either one of them.
Exactly, because once one goes out, the other is going not too far behind it. This is at a Department of Philosophy, California State University. Blood money. This is, once again, still all of this has been from NIH.gov, National Institute of Health, and the U.S. National Library of Medicine on PubMed.gov. You can look all of this up directly from their government's own sources. That's what I thought would have to be the cherry on top of this, is because I'm not even using just independent studies from somebody else. I'm using government-backed studies that say the same stuff. That's what I thought would be so great about the people that try and debunk us or try and smash on us and all this stuff, is because we got it sewn up. I mean, either you're going to say that the government's wrong through us being wrong, or you know what I mean? And a lot of those people can't do that.
Before anybody goes and attacks Seth here, before they go attack Seth, go attack your own people that write this stuff.
Agreed.
So if you go attack the CDC, who openly comes out and says this stuff.
Well, here, this is a study on Bayer's inventory of HIV-contaminated blood products and third-world hemophiliacs. This is that Bayer allowed anti-hemophiliac factor, AHF, contaminated with immunodeficiency virus, HIV. Financial investment in the product was considered too high to destroy the inventory. Cutter misrepresented the results of its own research and sold the contaminated AHF to overseas markets in Asia and Latin America without the precaution of heat treating the product recommended for eliminating the risk. As a consequence, hemophiliacs who infused the HIV-contaminated factor 8 and 9 tested positive for HIV and developed AIDS. Yeah, vaccine manufacturers, man, or in this case, just not vaccine manufacturers, but Bayer with their treated blood there to give to people. So it's a great example that these companies that are the big medical companies aren't beyond doing some really, really shady, really, really evil stuff just to make a profit.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's all they're about. They're not about helping us. They're not about the safety of humankind. They're about global extinction,
Yep.
I should say. And I'm not even sugarcoating nothing. That's the bottom line. That's exactly what they're trying to do. But we're trying to show you people out there, hey, listen, you really need to study. Study before you, even if you don't believe us, go study before you inject your kid with this crap. I mean, this is very serious, folks.
Agreed. Let's see. This is George Washington University School of Public Health and Health Services, Department of Epidemiology and Biostatistics, U.S. Let's see. Thimerosal exposure in infants in neurodevelopmental disorders, an assessment of computerized medical records in vaccine safety data link. This showing that children that were exposed to mercury when thimerosal containing vaccines had largely increased ratios observed of autism spectrum disorders, tics, attention deficit disorder, and emotional disturbances. That was a pretty interesting one to add there. Induction of methionine, ooh, that's a heck of a word, in mouse cerebellum and cerebrum in low-dose thimerosal injection, is showing that in combination with brain pathology observed in patients diagnosed with autism, the present study helps to support the possible biological plausibility for how low-dose exposure to mercury from thimerosal-containing vaccines may be associated with autism. And that's out of the Department of Life Sciences, Kinki University, Higashi, Osaka, Japan. Let's see, a couple more here. Thimerosal neurotoxicity is associated with glutathione depletion, protection with glutathione precursors. The potential protective effects of the glutathione precursors against mercury toxicity warrants further research as possible adjunct therapy to individuals still receiving thimerosal-containing vaccinations. So there have already been studies that have been put out there to try and treat people for the problems of ethyl mercury poisoning. This is out of the Department of Pediatrics. That was what this was out of, was the Department of Pediatrics, University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences in Arkansas, Children's Hospital Research Institute in Little Rock, Arkansas. Anything to add there, Dan?
No, just listen. I know you got like tons and more links. It's just
I've got 3 more studies right here to go. After that, we can just go into news links, history stuff, talking about the practices there and whatever else to finish it off.
Sure. I mean, it's just astounding. I'm just sitting here like, wow.
Well, yeah, there's so much evidence. That's one of the things of why I had to include all those links. And I could have done another 5 months of research and had another 500 or 600 links to add to this thing and have it be a full book. But at the same time, I still have to get onto the other news stuff and still cover everything else going on, man, because I'm a newsman first and foremost. So, but on this one, it was definitely an issue that pulls at your heartstrings, man, because we're talking about millions of kids that have been affected by this, that are either like hundreds of thousands that have died from this stuff, millions that have neurological disorders, that have different problems with their central nervous system, different problems with allergies, different problems with nervous tics, with going into comas, with all just horrid stuff that you can barely even imagine, man. And you're supposed to just be totally cool about this. It's kind of hard to not get heated. So I definitely understand why yourself or Alex or somebody would get kind of heated sometimes, get pretty pissed off, because it's hard to keep it cool. And you try, man, and I try really hard. It's just...
You just want to grab some of these people and, ugh. And speaking of kids
that's why it's so hard to not just want to grab people and just shake them into wakefulness there or whatever. But you've got to be civilized about this in a way that breaks it across to people while still being consistent with it. You know what I mean?
Speaking of kids and all that,
not getting all pissed off. It's just I kind of lost my composure for a second there, because it's just,
all right.
It waves on you, it dawns on you in waves of just how completely real this is and how many people have been hurt by this stuff, that Continuing on, Department of Biology and Biotechnology Center, Utah State University in Logan, Utah. Abnormal measles, mumps, rubella antibodies, and central nervous system autoimmunity in children with autism, showing that there is definitely an increase of inappropriate antibody response to MMR in people that have autism. Meaning that there's a high likelihood, as far as what this is saying, that people that have been injected with the MMR vaccine are not creating their own correct immunological response to MMR, to measles, mumps, and rubella. Instead, they're creating different antibodies which are actually attacking their central nervous system.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of ways that this can work, and why the eugenics angle comes again and again and again. This is just one that I've got here to show the dangers of monosodium glutamate. This is just diltiazem prevention of toxic effects of monosodium glutamate on ovaries and rats. Let's see. Our results suggest that calcium overloading plays an important role in the mechanisms of MSG toxicity. That pre-treating people or rats with diltiazem, right? Yeah, diltiazem was preventing the neurotoxic or the toxic effects of MSG because it was stopping the calcium overload. But it was also showing here that MSG causes all sorts of problems with women in their reproductive organs, and also affects certain hormones that you've got there that thus further affect.
So you're looking at a wide variety of damage that these vaccines are doing.
Oh yeah,
not just autism, not just
from, as far as there's certain stuff like the autism that hits guys a lot stronger, but there's the things that devastate women absolutely, as far as the increase in risk of ovarian cancer and stuff like that. We've got long-term effect of neonatal monosodium glutamate treatment on reproductive system of female rat, showing that MSG causes all sorts of problems in female reproductive system, especially long-term exposure, as many children are, of being vaccinated from the time they're born all the way till they're adults, and then it just continues on of get your booster shot, get your booster shot, get your booster shot, with the same old there. Another thing that's kind of interesting, whereas those fibroblasts that we were talking about, of the cells of the aborted babies in the 1960s that are included in the vaccines, a couple of them include the zoster, which is the chickenpox vaccine, the MMR vaccine, the adenovirus vaccine, and the varicella vaccine, all contain these diploid lung cells from aborted fetuses from the 1960s. Pretty interesting. That a study out of University of Toyama, Japan, found that levels of placental alkaline phosphatase, otherwise known as Regan enzyme, there's an increase in it. This enzyme is a tumor marker for seminoma and ovarian cancer.
Sounds like HPV. I mean, with HPV, that's a whole new story altogether.
Yeah.
But I mean,
well, that's cervical cancer, man. That's pretty much, man. Yeah, well, think about that we actually have this happening, and the women's rights groups don't want to mention this as far as what's happening to young women and little girls all over this nation. The black community, for some reason, as far as leaders there, as much as I've heard stuff from Louis Farrakhan that's on point as far as bringing it up, I haven't heard him talk about this, the fact that vaccines are affecting black people disproportionately to they are white people, especially young black men.
Yeah, because even the Star magazine, the Star.com, I'm sorry, they had a big outbreak in Canada, I guess, whatever HPV vaccine Gardasil has a dockside Star investigation finds, and it shows about 60 girls and more in Canada in the last 5 years have developed a disabling joint and muscle pain and other kinds of effects. They have one being in a wheelchair, 14 years old now, but it shows that this HPV vaccine, and it's a series of 3 shots. And I tried to warn my ex-wife about it. She thought I was a conspiracy theorist. She takes the first one, right away starts losing hair rapidly. Thank God she didn't go back for the other 2, whatever. But it just shows, these things are dangerous. And that what they're supposed to prevent, they actually cause. Yeah.
Oh, agree. Well, and just that's those. I'd say those 60 cases are the ones that were reported by the news. And in some cases, there are many of those that happen that are never reported to doctors or whatever. And there are many reactions to this that are a lot less overtly sinister and actually involve years of problems that will haunt you for the rest of your life. with a lot of this. And I mean, all people have to do is spend a few minutes just reading the inserts, man, reading the studies, looking at stuff like this, and doing their own research. I mean, the flu-Laval vaccine's own insert says that there have been no controlled trials demonstrating a decrease in influenza in people that have received the flu-Laval vaccination as opposed to those who haven't. Yeah. And I mean, well, look, it's just the inserts themselves from the flu vaccines. I thought this was an interesting enough one to contend with here to include it. That common side effects include headache, nausea, dizziness, sore throat, hives, joint pain, muscle pain, induration, swelling, accelerated heartbeat, wheezing, redness, weakness, bruising, sweating, fainting, runny nose, diarrhea, trouble breathing, fever, shivering, nasal inflammation, and itching. Catch that? Flu vaccine actually gives you all of the symptoms of the seasonal flu and then some.
So all that, is that worth getting your kids vaccinated when you can use
Well, that's
vitamin
just the
C?
flu shot. That's
crazy.
just the flu shot.
That's
And I mean, we can
nuts, man.
continue to wherever else you want to go with this, as far as the fact that the medical tyranny thing and the idea of forcing people into stuff, to me, that's the biggest problem with all of this. People can cling to what they believe is the good, solid, true vaccine science or whatever, pro-vaccine science. Good for them. However, the problem is the people that are going to try and force this onto everybody else.
Well, speaking of that, I want to get your take on these two articles here. One
Okay.
here, Obama, he's saying, get your kids vaccinated, reported by the Weekly Standard and its other publications. They reported this on. President Obama told parents in America to, quote unquote, get your kids vaccinated in an interview with NBC's Savannah Guthrie, whatever her name is. And he goes on to say, I understand there are families that in some cases are concerned about the effect of vaccines. The science, pretty indisputable. We looked into this again and again, and there is every reason to get vaccinated, but there aren't reasons to not, said Obama. So obviously Obama doesn't know what the hell he's talking about.
Well, and he completely changed his tune there. In his 2008 in the run-ups, he talked about how those are completely legitimate concerns, and we need to listen to that and do more studies on this and everything, showing that he's just a snake. I mean, he can take his vaccine and stick it, as far as I'm concerned.
And he's saying, quote again, you should get your kids vaccinated. It's good for them, but we should be able to get back to the point where measles effectively is not existing in this country.
I say he vaccinates his own kids.
Yeah.
I say he gives them the full schedule that the CDC or the FDA recommend there. The CDC recommends. Just give them the full schedule, man. Come on.
Yeah, I'm sure he ain't getting his daughters vaccinated, you know what I mean? Or they get the safe vaccine.
Well, and if they do, it's either like the ridiculous saline stuff that they'll use, or stuff without the additives, the quote preservative-free vaccines that they make.
Oh, wait a minute, you mean
the same stuff, just
you
in
mean
tiny
the
levels
safe
compared to
the
what it
safe
contains for us.
vaccines that German politicians were told to take? Safe vaccines.
Exactly. Exactly, and those clean vaccines still contain the stuff because they still have it in there. It's just it's like one. I think in some cases it's all the way down to like 1/8 or 1 of what they have in a regular vaccine that they give to the general public, and that's disgusting that they even have that level of like it's kind of like the pyramid scheme type thing. Like, you screw over these people on the bottom, and we'll give you this little bit here so you feel like you're succeeding in life. Your kids are less likely to develop all these problems than those people's kids. And I'm like, that, wow.
And here, speaking of kids here, Anthony Gucciardi from InfoWars reporting, McDonald's gives free vaccines with Happy Meals in Texas. And it's, would you like a side of hepatitis A shot with your Happy Meal? As it turns out, a child may be just able to receive a number of significant vaccinations at your local McDonald's on behalf of the Department of Health. So, this is the contradiction. McDonald's is full of GMOs.
The Department of Health is going to have vaccines being given out there and done at McDonald's.
Get your GMOs on top of it.
Down, because if they're doing their job, there would be no damn McDonald's in the United States. I mean, my God, they're serving you everything from pink slop for meat to these, sorry excuse for GMO potato styrofoam.
What about the silicone in the McNuggets? Silicone, the plastic in the French fries.
Stuff in the McNuggets. There's so much stuff with all that fast food crap. It's like, give me a break.
So let's give your kids, not only GMOs in the plastic and preservatives, but now a deadly vaccine.
Oh, why not, man? And while you're at it, why not just give them some bleach to drink, too? Have a nice big glass. Drink that aspartame-containing soda. Just, yum.
And I don't know if people remember, because we got another article here, a flashback years ago how the United Nations halts a Syrian vaccination program after dozens of children died. As many as 15 children died after receiving a second round of the measles vaccine last September, this was last year here, resulting in the termination of the major United Nations inoculation campaign in Syria. But you'll never hear that in mainstream media. Over 50 people died from the vaccines.
It's a shame, too.
It really is. And yeah, I mean,
because that's once again just what was reported, just what they talked about.
I mean,
and
I got a ton of articles.
They cover their asses with all this stuff as far as what day they cut it off at, where if something's reported so many days afterwards, and there's obviously no correlation there with the vaccine, just because you took 1 day longer to develop the symptoms of vaccine damage than somebody else. I mean, the vaccine court, the U.S. vaccine court, the fact that that exists and that's paid out over $3 billion to families in like the last 20 years is pretty telling, or whatever, 25 years.
Oh yeah, the Italian court even ruled that vaccines are dangerous. I mean,
they've tightened down over time, and now don't consider most of the cases vaccine damage or pay people for the vaccine damage. There, they still have acknowledged in tons of court cases that it's real, that it happens, and yet they want to try and like demonize you as crazy for not rolling with their ideas. Here's just something that I found is kind of interesting for my last big thing of math-based, fact-based evidence there against it. This is that clean vaccines, as far as people that talk about the problems of dirty vaccines and mass-produced vaccines, they say that clean vaccines are made with significantly lower doses of aluminum, thimerosal, or aluminum and thimerosal, two common adjuvants found in vaccines. Thimerosal, a compound which is 50% mercury by weight, is an extremely controversial ingredient in vaccines and has been listed by the FDA as being used in vaccines up to 1 part in 100,000, or 50 micrograms. The Environmental Protection Agency reports that humans can safely, quote-unquote, consume and digest mercury in their food at a rate of 0.1 microgram per kilogram of body weight. Doing the math here, an average 6-month-old child weighs 7 kilos and can, quote, safely consume 0.7 micrograms of mercury per day. The average 5-year-old child weighs 22 kilos and consume 2.2 micrograms safely a day. Even a grown adult man weighing 180 pounds, 81 kilos, has a daily limit of 8.1 micrograms. So regardless of whether we're talking adults or children, the mercury content allowed in vaccines that contain thimerosal is far too large. We're talking about stuff that as an adult man, you're likely to be being injected, if it's about 50% by weight there, mercury, and there's 50 micrograms of it in the average vaccine that contains thimerosal, then we're talking about 25 micrograms of mercury. And in a child, let's say a 6-month-old child, we're talking about 0.7 micrograms of mercury per day that they can safely consume, and you're injecting them with over 200 or 2,500 times the safe limit.
Oh man!
And you're injecting it into them, and those are the safe limits for consumption of that, which I think is kind of an interesting differentiation.
And we're the lunatics, because we don't want to inject our kids with poison.
Yeah, well, I mean, doing that math, Dan, it was hard to not get just in a rage, man, while you're doing this math, because it's you realize instantly just so many people know this. There is no way that these people don't know this, and so many people know this and are willing to still do it. They're willing to still put it out there and let people put this into kids and stuff, knowing full well by a basic math equation of this stuff, a basic understanding of reality, that that's dangerous.
The parents like, oh, my kid, you tell them all this, right? You tell them everything. Well, this is what they say. Well, they won't be able to go to school then. I'm like, hello, what's more important, school or your kid's health? Get off your lazy ass if you have to and homeschool the kid, but there are laws to protect you from getting your kids vaccinated. They're still around right now.
Well, as much as my heart still bleeds for a lot of those people that have suffered with their kids being damaged by vaccinations, or them themselves being suffering from the damage of vaccinations. In a way, man, you've done this to yourself. And that's why I don't agree with the people that try and put all the responsibility there on the parents. But you know what? While you should, in a perfect world, be able to trust your doctors, should be able to trust the government, should be able to trust everyone. But the fact of the matter is, the buck stops with you.
Exactly. And one last article I want to bring up quick from Globe Newswire. they're reporting studies show that vaccinated individuals spread diseases, and they're blaming all the the big outbreak that happened in Disney and all that. But they're blaming it on unvaccinated people. No, it's the vaccinated people. You got a perfectly healthy kid, you inject them with the virus, dead or alive, whatever, you still got it. Plain and simple. And everybody
well,
reacts
that's what we were talking about at first when we first started the show. They were talking about shedding of what they call shedding after you get a vaccination there, where your urine and stuff like that contains the virus still, and can infect people if they go to the bathroom like immediately afterwards or whatever type that. I hate to be crass, but that's what it is.
Well, it is, and I mean, it's just like you got to qualify what it is.
Can you think of any place dirtier on Earth than Disneyland for something like that to happen at? I mean, give me a break.
How many millions of people roll through there a week? I mean,
yeah, nasty people that don't wash their hands going to the bathroom.
From
Even
all
if they
over the
do,
world,
there's still just particulates of all this stuff everywhere. People sneezing, people coughing, people, all this, and yet people are surprised when 108 people of the millions of people that have visited Disneyland this year get sick. Give me a break.
Then they blame the unvaccinated people, and you take a perfectly healthy kid and you inject him with this virus, and he's got to spread it. And why? And first of all, there's an old saying called, "If it's not fixed, don't." If it's not broken, don't fix it. In other words, if your kid's healthy, don't give him no damn vaccine. Just keep his immune system up with the vitamins and all that.
It's been shown that the vaccines are like, it's kind of like variolation to a certain degree of the whatever you want to call it, the science or pseudoscience that preceded it historically, is that just somebody getting the virus of what they call like pox parties or whatever, of people getting the chicken pox and all this in kids and getting it out of the way, is actually the natural way to do that. And your body builds up, you build up antibodies in that last and can last your entire life, and are actual antibodies that are strong. Whereas you're artificially trying to build antibodies through vaccination, and that's why there's problems, as we talked about, with the your immune system's response to being injected with these vaccines of the certain kind of virus there. And there's another thing we didn't mention yet that I would like to tack on here is those diploid cells we were talking about, as far as the fetal cells, is that one came from a male and one came from a female. I don't know about MRC5, but the diploid 21, I believe, or what is it? Or is it diploid WI26 is, I believe, male, and WI38, I believe, is female. Might be the other way around there. But that itself has a bearing of that you're injecting of why the immune system response is an attack, and then it begins attacking your own system itself, is because you're being injected with someone else's DNA, not only someone else's, but with someone of a different gender's DNA.
Yeah, animal DNA.
Which is a reason that's controversial, and you're also supporting the abortion industry.
Exactly. And if you look at all the statistics now, they make it look like they're the majority, that they're overpowering us. But the thing is, the reality of it all, they can't give these things away for free. People are now awake. I mean, less and less people are turning out to get the vaccines every year. Big Pharma's losing millions. That's why they had to come up with the whole H1N1. It was nothing but a beta test to see how many people would actually go out and get the vaccines. But it's failing thanks to people like Seth here, thanks to InfoWars, thanks to shows like this that get the information out. Because again, every year you see less and less people. Now they say, oh, you buy one, you get one free. You get these free now. I mean, like they can't give them away for free. Is what I'm trying to say.
It's so sick too.
It is.
It's so
really
sick. Just the idea that it's just. They used to have the thing of pregnant women don't get vaccinated, and now they've totally changed that to pregnant women need to get vaccinated more than anyone else. Oh, that's great.
Unbelievable. It really is. But Seth, we got about a couple minutes left. If you want to finish up, let people know where they can find you.
I'll just say thank you for having me on. I would like to thank your audience there for listening. Thank you for tuning in to Dan Bidondi's Truth Radio Show, man. This is about as real as it can get. This is about as gritty, about as much, about as little waste as can possibly be found in a show, man. We're literally like skin and bones as far as this, but it's the truth, and that's what matters, and that's what gets it out to people, is because people identify with it, that we don't have to have some big fancy studio. We don't have to have millions of dollars behind us. We don't have to have any of this, because the truth resonates.
Exactly. And how can people find you?
Facebook.com/2RealNews. That's the number 2, capital R in real and capital N in news. You can find me there. I've also worked with Pete Wickard, A Truth is Stranger Than Fiction. You can check out his videos on YouTube. And see his stuff on Facebook there. Also, Scott Sentinel from Truth Sentinel. We've worked together, and you can see his work there also on YouTube as well. You have a good day there, Dan. Your audience have a good one, and I would like to join you to discuss any of a number of topics, anything you want to talk about. As far as stuff, I got articles on everything from robotics and transhumanism and cybernetics and artificial intelligence and all that stuff to eugenics to pretty much whatever you can think of, man. I'm doing one on secret societies right now.
Awesome. If you want to stay right there for a minute, so I can talk to you after the show.
Okay.
Just hang on a second. And there you have it, folks. I mean, that's just brushing the tip of the spear. That's all it is. I mean, we could be here for hours. Again, he supplied in his article Tuskegee Nation, The Truth About Vaccinations by Seth Davis. And it's, again, on his Facebook page, Too Real News. Check it out. And over 240 links on accompanying the article on all kinds of reports. But anyway, we're about out of time, folks. We urge you again, don't take our word for it. And please, if you do care about your children, folks, it is well worth taking 5 minutes just to investigate and look at the inserts and the boxes of what those vaccinations do. So ask yourself, what's more important, your kids' health or being politically correct and having to get your kids into school and all that? You know what I mean? But the thing is, you still can, because the school would never tell you that it is, they have to provide you with a religious exemption form. They won't offer that to you. You have to ask. But anyway, we're out of time. Thank you for joining us. Again, don't vaccinate. And this is Dan Bidondi for TruthRadioShow.com. And thank you, Seth. God bless.
God bless.